People often ask me, what does the Surgeon General do? It's a fair question. And I tell them, I sit in a small, windowless room, and I stamp every cigarette box in America. Don't laugh, it's exhausting but important work. But really, my job is to help all Americans lead healthier, more fulfilling lives. Now, usually when I go to give talks, people expect me to tell them what to eat, how much to exercise, and how much to sleep. All of those are very important factors that contribute to our health. But today, I'd like to talk to you about something else. If there was a factor in your life that could reduce your risk of having a heart attack or a stroke, that could increase your chances of living longer, that would make your children less likely to engage in crime or use drugs, and that would even increase your success with losing weight, what would that factor be? It turns out it would be happiness. By happiness, I don't mean the feeling that comes from indulgence or from hedonism. I mean the long-term emotional well-being that comes from fulfillment, purpose, connectedness, and love. Happiness affects us on a biological level. Happy people have lower levels of cortisol, a key stress hormone. They have more favorable heart rates and blood pressures. They have stronger immune systems. And they have lower levels of inflammatory markers, like C-reactive protein, which has been linked to coronary heart disease. It turns out, even when you control for smoking, for physical activity, and for other health behaviors, happy people live longer. There's something about happiness that seems to be protective. Now, I want to be clear. While happiness is an important factor in improving health, it's certainly not the only one. We know that good nutrition, exercise, and sleep are essential tools for preventing illness. And whether we're living with depression or with diabetes, treatment is essential too. Yet among all these factors for improving health, happiness stands out as a largely untapped and unrecognized resource that has the potential to transform health for individuals and for communities. Now, as an internal medicine doctor, I've had the great privilege to care for many patients over the years with a wide range of illnesses, from cancer to infections to heart disease to diabetes. But perhaps the most common condition I've seen is unhappiness. Unhappiness that stems from isolation, from lack of meaning, and from a loss of self-worth. I've seen this as Surgeon General too. As I travel around the country, I meet people who are stressed, worried, and anxious. And this includes many children as well. They find themselves constantly surrounded by news stories and narratives that only remind them time and time again of all the things they have to be worried about. All this unhappiness is important because unhappiness is a risk factor for illness. Now, you might ask yourself, does happiness really lead to better health? Isn't it the other way around? Doesn't happiness result from good health and favorable circumstances? We might sometimes think, I'll be happy if only I lose 15 more pounds, or if I get a better job, or if I make just a little more money. But the truth is that while circumstances can and do impact our short-term happiness, our long-term happiness is far more driven by how we process life events than by the events themselves. So if happiness is protective, the key question is, can we create it? The answer is yes. And the way we do that is surprisingly simple, and it largely costs nothing. The research tells us that gratitude exercises, meditation, exercise, and social connectedness are just a few of the tools that we can use to increase happiness. Take gratitude, for example. One study took participants and randomized them to 3 different groups. In one group, the gratitude group, participants were asked to write down 5 things they were grateful for. In the second group, the hassle group, the participants were asked to write down 5 things that hassled them. And in the third group, they were asked to write down 5 things that happened without a positive or a negative slant. Now, at the end of 10 weeks, it turns out the participants in the gratitude group experienced a greater level of optimism, and they had a more positive view of their life. But they also exercised for 1.5 hours more on average per week. They also slept better, and they had fewer physical symptoms like pain, nausea, and headaches. The simple practice of gratitude had the power to increase their happiness and to change their health behavior and their health outcomes. And perhaps one of the most powerful examples of cultivating happiness comes from Visitation Valley Middle School in San Francisco, California. Some years ago, Visitation was struggling. They were struggling with low test scores, with high suspension rates, and with so much community violence that they had to hire a full-time grief counselor at the school. They tried all kinds of things to help. They started after-school programs, sports programs, peer counseling programs, but all without much luck. And then one day, they decided to take a leap of faith. What if, they asked themselves, we used meditation as a tool to reduce stress and increase happiness for our students? And so they created 2 15-minute quiet time meditation sessions during each school day. They taught the teachers and the students how to meditate. They taught the administrators how to meditate as well. And within a year, something incredible happened. Suspension rates dropped by 45%. Teacher absenteeism dropped by 30%. Test scores and grade point averages rose markedly. The students reported they were less anxious and they were sleeping better. And the self-reported happiness scores of the students went from one of the lower scores in San Francisco to the highest score in the entire district. As one student put it, our school went from being a place of anger, sadness, and fear to a place where we could be happy. I had the great privilege of visiting Visitation Valley Middle School yesterday. I had the chance to sit down with students and talk to them about their experiences. I had the chance to meditate with 6th grade students sitting on their very short stools. I had the chance to hear about the impact meditation had made not only on their life in school, but also on their life at home. I heard about how their parents have found them to be calmer, more focused, and just more fun to be around. I heard from one young man who grew up being discriminated against and felt a great deal of anger because of that. He channeled that anger into bullying other kids. But he told me after he started meditating in school, he learned to calm himself. He gained a stronger sense of self-worth, and he stopped bullying other children. These are remarkable stories. And I can tell you firsthand that what Visitation Valley Middle School is doing is increasing happiness. And their model is being replicated at other schools now with comparable results. What is so striking about these tools for increasing happiness, meditation, gratitude, social connection, and exercise, is that they are simple and accessible. We have become accustomed to thinking that complex problems require complex solutions. But that's not always the case. Sometimes simple solutions can enable us to take on some of our most intractable problems. That's what happiness can do when it comes to health. If you think about it, all of us have the power to create happiness in our lives. But we also have the power to help create happiness in the lives of others. And if you need proof of this, I'd ask you to join me in a short exercise I learned from the legendary Mr. Rogers. Close your eyes for 10 seconds with me and think about the people who have brought kindness, understanding, and joy into your life over the years. I'll keep track of the time. The people you remembered have helped you be happy. I remembered my wife Alice, my mother, my father, my sister Rashmi. They have brought happiness, joy, and health into my life for so many years. Each of us has the power to touch other people's lives, sometimes with just a simple gesture or a kind word. Imagine if happiness and emotional well-being were prioritized in our schools as much as test scores and grades. Imagine if cultivating happiness was a priority in our workplaces. Imagine if our policymakers understood emotional well-being to be the fuel that enables us to be healthy, productive, and strong. So as we grapple with the challenges of how to create a healthier, stronger world, let us remember that happiness is a powerful tool for health. Let us remember that we can create happiness in our lives and in the lives of people around us. Let us call ourselves and each other to action to ensure that emotional well-being is part of our policies, part of our institutions, and part of our way of life. If we do this, we will create a world that is full of joy, a world that is full of health, the world our children deserve. Thank you very much.